Should be good. Hello everybody, this is Andrew Broussard from Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today I'm going to be going through one of my palettes, kind of just a refresher of everything that I've been doing. So that is what we'll be looking at and working with today. So I broadcast these live. I use this on Twitch, and I decided, and I'll start off every video like this, to show the prep process that allows people time to come into the channel. And then from there, I'll just jump into the painting and all that. Then at the end, I just download the video off of Twitch. It just makes it super easy for me to get it onto the computer because I'm using my phone to film. And then, like I said, from there, I can then turn around and upload it onto YouTube or Patreon. So if you're watching this at a later date and you don't want to see any of the prep work, that's fine. Just skip ahead a few minutes. But if you want to stay for the discussion about the palette before we get started right there, that's fine as well. So I take my 11 by 14 piece of Stonehenge aqua. I saturate it out with water, and while that soaks, we'll get the palette going. Use a spritz bottle to kind of get things to reactivate. But I'll talk about the colors. So yesterday I did my standard palette, and I did a technique where I just kind of build up wet and wet, background forward. I increase my pigment load as I paint, and I increase my darkness and tonality, and then I put in foreground trees. So that was yesterday's approach. Now this one, I take a palette that is based off of sap green and Venetian red, a mixture of those two. And sap green and Venetian red I'm going to mix together as complementary colors to get a brown. I'm going to base the painting off of that. This is kind of a combination used by oil painters Stuart Davies and Dennis Sheehan, and I like to apply it to watercolor. I also use this two colors with oils at times. This is Venetian red. If you don't have Venetian red, you can use sap. So you could use light red oxide or red ochre or something like that. That was initially the two colors that I would utilize, and there was a little bit too much of a softness to it with a drying shift. So I also will throw in Payne's Gray, Ultramarine, and Phthalo Blue to kind of shift the greens in different directions. And who knows, maybe we'll add in different colors, but that is the basis of the palette. I don't even need to, well, I'll wipe off the palette just so you guys can see from the beginning. I had used a little sap green at the end of yesterday's paintings for the foreground most foliage. Alright, so we got Beaver in the live chat. How you doing? Now, my paper, the whole thing with watercolor paper is, you're painting with water. The paper is going to soak it up. It's going to make it stretch, and sometimes it could be a little bit hard to handle. So when I go wet and wet, I clip all the corners and I just clip and press down. Okay, so with this approach, it's usually kind of like a stream of consciousness painting. And it's different from yesterday's style and the fact that kind of put in all the masses at once, and then I just adjust tonality, wipe back and forth, and add texture through paper towels and reapplication of color. I do have something a little bit in mind that's going to be based off of the George Inness drawing that I did yesterday. Anyway, so with this is really fast and loose, letting the shapes start to happen. This is going to be an imaginary scene though. It will, however, thinking the light source will come from the left, so that's probably the only thing I really need to keep in mind, is just have a semblance of a light source. So it looks dramatic in the beginning, the kind of just throwing in of paint, but it's just to get in there and then start creating. It's almost like, I'm not sure if I pronounced this word right, a grisaille, which is the word for the underpainting within oil painting. I just used the first two color combination to kind of just put everything in, and once I'm happy with everything starting to lay out, then I'll start adding the blues to adjust. You can also just like put this right in the sky. And then from there, have a paper towel in your hand and start adjusting that texture and that tonal value. This is a really fun approach where you can just keep on going back and forth. So if you're like, okay, I didn't like the way that came out, then you can do that again. We just want a little bit of tonality in the sky. In fact, since I said the light's going to come from the left, let's get some movement in that sky from that side. Let's even darken this half of the sky. Maybe I'll try to almost apply like a chiaroscuro technique. We'll see. Yep, it's gonna have that big tree right there. And I know, like I said, this seems dramatic, but it's literally just to get texture and movement, etc. to take place. And within trees, you can lift texture and then go right back in with more right on top. You can take pointed pieces of paper towel to start getting trunks, or you can put them right back. Okay, so that is the basis of this, and right now it just looks like a hodgepodge, I think that's a word, hodgepodge of paint. But we'll start now creating our darks and lights and our forms over this. I'm still just going to use the two color combination. I'm not going to switch over yet. You can lift up lights back to the white of the paper. These aren't staining colors, so it makes it very easy to do that. This right side is going to be the darker side of that tree, so we're going to build that up there. That works really well with the hake brush because the hake puts a lot of pigment down, puts the texture down. People that use this kind of approach with oils will have a rag and apply it in that fashion. So like I said, I had some semblance of an idea where I wanted to go with this one. And it's loosely based off of the George Inness drawing from yesterday, the compositional shape. But you could literally start from scratch, and as long as you're kind of going fast and loose like this, with no plan whatsoever, you can come out with really nice results. It's really just a good let loose technique. So we're still using the two colors. Once you want to switch to adding in the ultramarines and the phthalo blue or the Payne's gray for your darks, that's fine. We'll switch over in a few with that. Still building this guy up. Yeah, it's coming together really quick with this one. Let's see. Okay. Shouldn't have to flatten anymore after this point. I could see if I could pull out some clouds. Might be a little too dry in that sky. You can re-wet and pull out clouds or plan it out faster. If you want to break up the monotony of just a field, lift up some highlights, and that'll be part of rocks. And we'll put in their shadows and all that, and that'll help create the light source idea that's coming from the left. Or if people want to be sassy about it, they could say that they're sheep, since they're so white and fluffy right now. Okay, so now that I kind of have like that basis in place, and I'm happy with what things are starting to come together as, you might go through a few paper towels with this. Oil painters will use paper towels to create trunks and texture. They'll also use Q-tips. I found that for me, Q-tips don't work that good for lifting and pushing that paint around. You can try it. It might work for you. If it does, let me know. I'm curious because I feel like there's something that I'm missing. I'm bringing up the highlights on this side to show that the light's going to catch here. Then I'm going to start painting in more. And darkening that other side. So this is just a good practice in light and dark on a landscape as well. Anyway, so they'll use Q-tips, and I just haven't got it to work with watercolors yet, the Q-tips. Apparently they have these pointed Q-tips. Is this the effect of pollution? Yes. In fact, well, here, let me start that thought about the Q-tips first. So the Q-tips, I can't get them to work. Apparently they have pointed Q-tips. I don't have those. And fun fact, in Europe, apparently they call Q-tips cotton buds. Anyway, so I can't get Q-tips to work for me with watercolor, with lifting. So I just use paper towel. Paper towel will get saturated pretty quick with this technique, so have another one on hand. And then if you're in the mind state of like saving things, just put that on the side and use that one to clean your palette later on. Anyway, effects of pollution. Now, this is, and this one I'm going to try to stay away from the whole like history lesson type thing, because I'm really not sure about the Industrial Revolution and the time periods of it. But a lot of painters, if you think like the early 1800s, you think of J.M.W. Turner. He would have a painting of like a retirement of a battleship, and it was being pulled into port by a small, like a steamboat, steam engine tugboat type thing. And this is Payne's gray now being mixed in to darken. And that small steamboat, is kind of showing how, that technology was taking over the ways of the past. I think that's one interpretation of it. There's also a lot of paintings that started incorporating trains and whatnot. But this tonalism is capturing atmospheric effects, and a very viable atmospheric effect is pollution, where light pollution captured in oil painters that are or watercolorists that are painting nighttime scenes with a glow on the horizon. The other day I did a series with of 3 experiments with glazes, and that was to capture the effects of the Sahara dust that's affecting the southern portion of the United States. And this right here, you could easily say that it has like that smoggy effect, or a hazy effect, if you want to attribute it to that. put smaller tree structures in this background. I don't want it to pop out too far. If you don't like it, just lift it with that paper towel. And as you put this in, you start lifting. Ooh, that's a lot of Payne's Gray, but you know what? We're going to go with it. We're going to mix phthalo blue into it, even though it'll probably be overpowered at this point. Sap green. This is going to get that extreme dark side. One thing I'm very much a fan of is when I notice this with the older painters, that they blend their shadows together. So we have the shadow side of the tree blending into the shadow shape on the ground. Darkening the corners just so the eyes don't go off the page. Just a little technique. You could either put structures there or shadows. I'm going to put up the structures around it. And rather than mixing a lighter concentration, I'm just going to put trees on the hill. And if it's too dark tonally where I feel like it's popping forward, I'm just going to lift it up with the paper towel to soften it. So I'm kind of, I guess, the lazy man's way of watercolor painting. Let's have a tree structure here. And the shadow a little bit. And all I'm doing is just painting it and then pushing it sideways. In fact, this will be the first use of a hake. I don't want the number 4. I want the number 1 rigger. And there you go. That's that shadow, which would be a thinner line as opposed to a thicker shadow in the foreground, excuse me. And that'll help create sunlight coming from the left. In fact, I can lift up on that side to show that light even more there. And I could even dry brush on the side to darken that side of that tree. If you put in little trees in the background, create a rhythm, a pattern with them. Vary the tonality back here. accentuate a tree structure on this closer edge. Dark. The trunks. Cast that shadow. I think we had lifted some rock shapes, but I just wound up painting over them, so I could just say this is the shadow side of a rock, and just casting it. Shadow side of a rock. It's casting it. Just a little bit of movement to give clumps of grass. So it's a very different way of painting compared to yesterday's. Both exploit the abilities of wet and wet. It's fun. It's quite fun. Using the back of the brush here. Let me darken these guys. I don't think we used any ultramarine blue. Then if we want for a little bit of drama llama, let me grab a card. And scrape out. Dang it. Bit of building right there. A little dark. Do a little dark for the door. Watch out, fingerprints. Payne's Gray, Venetian Red, I'll let this guy pass behind here, so we have this lighter structure. All right. Now, the one thing that I mentioned about this palette in the beginning is that we have a drawing shift, and that was why I had added phthalo blue and the paint's gray and all that, I felt like it helped some with the drying shift. But we may have to do a dry off and then fix up different spots. In fact, I might add a little fence right along here. Comes up and over. So this edge would catch the light to create that turn. Yeah, I'm not going to do a fence. I'm just going to let it be a edge of a landmass right there. All right. Everything kind of leans this way, so let me see if there's something I can do to kind of correct that. Let's grab a tree out right there that stands up more upright. And cast his shadow over the contour. And then throw his shadow on that backside. That might help. That might make it interesting. Rock masses that'll cast shadow. Darken up a little more back here, and then we'll do a dry off and we'll see if we are done. Let's do dry off, see where we're at. Now I'm going to try something different with this palette. It just kind of hit me during this. I've been playing with the white gouache, so let's grab some of that. And let's just do a highlight or two just to give the idea of the traveling light across this. It's coming here, it's catching that edge. It travels along, it catches on the top of this rock. It must be too much of a straight line, but just a little bit of white gouache and it just gets the idea that I travel along there. Then I could play around with black gouache if I wanted to on the other side, the back side of these, but I think that little accentuation is all I wanted to experiment with for right now. So I am going to move this off to the side. Those of you that are watching this, and if you're watching this on YouTube, or Twitch or anything like that, please like, subscribe, follow. If you have any questions, comments, please ask. I would love to hear from y'all. I also have links on both to my Patreon page. That goes to just kind of support with material and all that. I also have some exclusive content, but the Patreon is like super cheap. It's like a $2 or $3 tier and then a $5 tier. So love for you to consider me supporting me for those things. And if not, if you're unable to or just don't want to, I completely understand. Just you guys watching and following is honestly a big supportive measure, and I really appreciate that. Especially everybody that comes into the live chat. Thank you all so much. So, just so you can see it with a black mat around it, because I'm a moody person and I like the black mats. There you go. And there's the results. All right. You all have a great day, and I will talk to you all soon. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.